It's time to expose the biggest problem on the internet and the world as a whole for as long as I've been alive, which is when the world technically started because I'm an egotist, but being egotistical could be classified as a mental illness, and mental illness is what I'm ranting about today. It sucks, it's stupid, yet it is probably the most important thing in this entire world. And when I talk about mental illness, I'm talking about it in an extremely broad sense, to not only include official medical diagnoses, but also any just inherent mental flaw that you may have to inhibit your true potential. I feel like everyone is mentally dealing with something to inhibit their full potential, whether that be due to an illness you were born with or due to deep-seated mental traits that you developed from whatever may have happened around you as you grew up into an adult, whether that be developing anxiety, depression, or even something as simple as lack of education. I feel like so many of the world's problems would just be fixed if school actually taught you how to be a good and smart human being instead of just memorizing algebra, but the education system is an entirely different topic that I could discuss in another video if you like this one, so let me know in the comments. But regardless, my point is that so many people's potential is blocked by mental illness, and it is the most frustrating thing in the world. For example, I have an anxiety disorder, and because of that, sometimes I wake up with panic attacks, thinking I'm not good enough, thinking I'm a failure and not successful, wishing I wasn't even alive. Not that I'm actually suicidal, but I just don't feel like living life for that day, or at least in that moment. And it's so stupid, because if I told myself 10 years ago where I would be today, I would be insanely excited for life, think I'm the luckiest person in the world, and absolutely wish I was in that moment. Yet when I'm in that moment, all I can think about is not wanting to move on because I'm drowning in anxiety because of mental illness that I'm not in complete control of. No matter what I do, no matter what I tell myself, no matter what medication I take, it's always going to crop up in my life in some way or another, infecting my mind and limiting my true potential, causing me to worry to the point where I don't even try new things and even try to live up to the potential that I may or may not have. And the worst part about it is that I'm not even the only one. I feel like majority of the population is dealing with some sort of mental struggle, whether that be a diagnosed illness or just some sort of mental hurdle that they can't get past that severely limits their potential, or even worse, causes them to unintentionally be bad people due to a lack of intelligence, misunderstanding, or a mental illness. I'm not saying there can't be bad people who just straight up have bad intentions and like being bad, but I think the vast majority of bad actions come from people who think they're doing the right thing, but they aren't. But how can you blame them when there isn't really any universal system to teach people right from wrong? There's religions, but not every person is going to click with every religion. Not saying any religion is wrong, by the way. Just saying that different types of religions work for different types of people, as they are all teaching moral lessons in slightly different ways. As everybody has different opinions on what is morally right and wrong. But there are some general lessons that can be taught that everybody would agree are good social lessons, good morality lessons, or good lessons to raise general intelligence and awareness that are all pushed exclusively onto parents to teach their children, which I think is good to some extent because I think every parent should have the right to raise their child in the way they see best fit. But there has to be some common source of information to pull from that teaches basic mental lessons that could help anybody have a potentially more fulfilling life. Like, we all know what 1 + 1 is, it's 2. And this is something we were all universally taught. But basic important life concepts like ambition are left up to other people to may or may not teach their kid. And specifically, I'm talking about self-ambition. Having the drive to constantly improve yourself. Because I was born autistic, I had to learn social skills completely manually. Basically, I was born with no natural social skill instincts, and I had to learn it as if it was any other skill, like how you would learn plumbing from scratch or something like that. But since there was no proper class or way for me to just be taught social skills, there was no video just being like, hey, here's why you say thank you, here's why you look people in the eyes when you talk, here's how to read faces. I had to learn basically through trial and error, which developed my mind to be ambitious, always trying to improve myself, because I had to in order to function in society. And even if you don't have autism or any other condition that would kind of naturally incline you to be ambitious and self-improve. I think ambition and self-improvement is one of the major keys to living a fulfilling life that a lot of people surprisingly lack. The most extreme example of this is spoiled children. Everything is already given to them, so why would they ever try to improve when they don't have to work for anything? For some reason, this critical mentality is so commonly lacking in so many people that they end up just coasting through life, working every day at their minimum wage job, or going to school every day and getting in debt just to get a job that pays slightly higher, which some people are happy with, and more power to you if you're happy living that way. But more often than not, it causes a ton of depression and a ton of other mental illness to happen due to people feeling like life is against them and it's just the way it is and there's nothing they can do but live their sad life and hopefully not kill themselves. And not only that, but this lack of ambition and desire to self-improve yourself not being instilled in people at a young age causes them to think less or not at all about information that is being fed to them, because they lack the inherent instinct to use any information given to them in order to potentially self-improve themselves in the way they think, articulate themselves, or do anything in life. It's why it's so easy for grifter content creators to make so much money off mass groups of people, because they tell them what to think rather than just giving the information plainly and letting them figure it out for themselves. Because if they did that, then they'd have to appeal to a crowd with varying different opinions rather than the ones they planted in their viewers' heads, or more often was already planted and then they just help perpetuate for money. But it's not like this is a new concept just with content creation. Advertising pretty much relies solely on tactics like these, and ultimately, I think the reason why ambition isn't really taught in mass to people is because it's unprofitable to do so. It's much easier to make money off a bunch of people who think the same way rather than a bunch of different demographics. Don't get me wrong, I don't think capitalism is the issue. I think capitalism is great, but I also think the world would be a much more smarter and productive place if people were taught more than just to sit down and do what they're told. And of course, if mental illness didn't exist. That was the topic of this video, and I feel like I got way off track. Basically, what I'm saying is that societal conditioning, as well as mental illness, are the two biggest causes for everything bad in this world. Humans have existed for thousands of years. You'd think by now there'd be a pristine guidebook on how to have baseline knowledge on how to live a fulfilling life and not become a depressed minimum wage slave, but there isn't, and unfortunately a lot of people are born with mental illness, a lot more people than I think most people estimate there to be. And because parents usually don't have easy answers to how to teach their kids how to deal with depression, anxiety, etc., it just creates a society that is just so inefficient and sad. So many great people are bogged down by the way they were raised, past trauma, mental illnesses that they can't control, and it's extremely frustrating. And I think if we all had a little bit more self-awareness about our own mental health, the world would be a much better place. Now, that's a lot easier said than done. It took me years to get to the place I am today, and a lot of people, including myself to some extent, are still on their journey of self-discovery, but I don't feel like everyone would really need a journey of self-discovery if people were more willing to share their knowledge about how they overcame their mental health struggles and what mentality they had to get to the place they are today, and not in the way of fucking Andrew Tate or Sneako, where they try to give you life advice, but it's plastered in all this extreme rhetoric, explaining things in black and white ways in order to get more money out of their audience. I'm getting off topic again, but why are these simple topics that are being taught to us through weird people with alternative motives like Andrew Tate and Sneako not already common sense? Why is this information not as well known as saying thank you to someone after they make dinner for you, or washing your hands after you use the toilet? Like, these concepts I'm talking about with ambition and learning how to deal with anxiety and depression, it's not like this information isn't readily available. It's just that it's not common knowledge that you assume every human is equipped with, in the same way as knowing to say thank you, knowing how to wash your hands, knowing how to walk. Everyone deals with mental health issues. Nobody is born out of the womb being the perfect human being. Why don't we talk about these things more? I don't really want this to come off as me being on a soapbox or anything, though. These are just my thoughts and opinions, and hopefully this made sense. Hopefully you guys liked the video. If you think I'm an idiot, feel free to tell me. Any feedback in the comment section is greatly appreciated, as this is a new type of video for me. But with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.